Yo, what's up, Zox fam? We're back with some more Chaos Zero Nightmare, and I gotta say, this is one of the first gotchas in a while where you're literally able to do whatever you want. And I know there's a ton of content flowing around. You gotta summon for this unit, build this way, get this specific gear, you gotta farm this dungeon. Let me tell you, you want to make this game about really trying to play the things that you enjoy, because I'm telling you, a lot of the units can basically do whatever you want as long as you understand how to get it. And we're gonna be talking about that in this video. So with that, okay, where exactly is this account? What do we got going on? So we have right now Ren, Hugo, which I already know somebody's gonna be like, yo, you got two meta characters. We ain't trying to hear you talk at all. Well, listen, buddy, it wasn't my fault that the RNG gods kissed me on the forehead, all right? But I will say, okay, disclaimer, I didn't start out with Ren and Hugo. I actually only started out with Hugo, and I got Ren in like my last multi I did, and I want to kind of make that a talking point too. So with that, we were using Hugo, Maribel, and Mika, which again, we all know at this point that Mika is one of the best 4-star supports that you start out with, and she's not only able to heal, but she gives you AP. But one of the things that I think that is kind of lacking in some of the information that's being pushed is the lack of like development, right? So a lot of these characters, despite the fact that they may have given roles, they can take on more than one role. And so with that being the case, this means that a lot of characters that may be, say, specializing in single target in the very beginning can become AoE monsters, or characters that, for example, specialize in AoE. They can also add value to giving you more shield or granting you more AP so you can use more cards. And really understanding not only what the character does, but how you can deck build is really going to make your builds really go crazy and allow you to really build whoever you want together, right? So let me actually show you guys what my current team is, right? So we actually go over to, let's just go to any fight at this point. So let's just go to simulation. Right now, I'm currently done with all my challenges, but I did all my challenges at level 40. And the current team that I'm using right now, so let's just go to Glory and Authority right now. Let's actually change this preset because this is the original team I was using, but the current team I'm using right now is Mika, Ren, and Hugo. Right now, the thing is that I was trying to figure out, like, how can I make this team work? Like, considering I'm getting rid of my shielder, I'm like, dude, I need shields. Like, how exactly am I going to maintain a team if I don't have shields? And it's not so much about just having the specific role, but it's really trying to find your play style. And I'm going to use that word a lot. How do you want to play, and really figuring out what works best and really what gives you the most enjoyment with playing this game. So as you can see here, I like this a lot. I like the combination of Hugo. I like the combination with Ren, and of course Mika giving me that extra AP. The healing is great, but what makes this work? Okay, so let's actually talk about the build. And actually, before we talk about the build, I want to actually talk about the place, because the place that the game, I feel like, really turns a whole new leaf for you and where the game starts to expand is actually when you get to the point of being able to do chaos manifestation, and specifically the City of Mist, because the City of Mist is the very first I would say exploration or manifestation that has two whole entire maps that you have to do. And this is not important just because it's more dungeon, but it's because it is the first time that your build is a lot more expansive. And so the bigger the map gets, the more your builds can be expansive. And really understanding how you can go about deck building is going to be really important, because it doesn't matter what you pick. It is all about the understanding of how you can deck build and really making it work, and really just making sure that you know what challenges to take on and which ones to not take on, because you don't want to keep dying. But there are a lot of different things that can help you in a lot of different scenarios. Like, for example, right, attribute is definitely going to be something that people are going to push for many of different reasons, right, to get through a lot of different content, because again, attribute gives you bonus damage. But let's actually look at something real quick, right? And if we go over back to our builds, I have two different builds that I actually use on my Hugo, and one of them, if we actually go to my favorites here, I think it's in my second build, if I'm not mistaken. It's either second or first. Oh wait, I just swapped it. I swapped that back, thank you. If we actually go over to, let's just go to change, right? So I have a build where I actually have a card that allows me, which I think it's right here, quick fix, where when I use Epiphany on this card, it actually allowed me to always attack weakness with this card. And there's going to be other cards that you'll be able to come across that will allow you to be able to have this effect. And even when you're able to clear a dungeon or a entire like map, it's going to allow you to be able to duplicate cards like this. So this is a really, really strong type of card, because this means that even as Hugo being an order character, he can hit enemies with a card like this, especially when you have all the proper stat allocations from his other, I would say, damage scaling factors. Yeah, he's going to be hitting as much damage as possible. And because he's always hitting attack weakness, it means he's also going to be able to get that damage bonus on this specific card. So it's little things like that that kind of start to kind of open my eyes to the fact that, well, I may not have to necessarily have a specific type of unit. I just need to know what type of cards I may be wanting to look for, and also really how I can capitalize the most off of my epiphanies. Now, the other thing is too, is then going into my current build, I was like, well, when you really look at the base build fundamentally of Hugo, it's really a follow-up single target type of ability. The main thing that really does kind of AoE is basically his ultimate ability, which it is something that you have to build up EP for, which you need 6, which takes some time for you to get, especially in the earlier phases of the game. So there was actually a card that I came across called Maneuvering Fire, and this card actually opened up so much for me because it capitalizes off of his gimmick called Outbreak of War, which places this card on the top of the draw pile at the start of battle, which gives me a 200% damage to all enemies. Now the thing is that, like I said, it's a 0 card cost card that always starts at the start of battle. So whenever you're fighting anything with multiple enemies, you got to get rid of something, you got to blow something up. I have this card automatically starting every single time, so there's no anomaly in that start. Right now, this, of course, when I completed the phase or the map, I actually decided to duplicate this card. So I actually start out any given fight with 2 of these cards, which that's 400% damage to all enemies, just blasting them to oblivion before they even get a chance to even think. Right, so it is insanity when you really start to understand how you can really take advantage or expand a character's build. Right, let's actually take another look at, like, with the Mika. Right, everybody's gonna have this character. So one of the things that I was really looking at was like, okay, how can I add more value to increasing or her controlling nature that she's bringing to the table, right? And this is something that not only just works for her, but the other thing is too, is that you can see with the haste ability or the rally skill it has, you draw a card, right? And this card, by the way, does not reduce the enemy's action count, which is why this card is so strong. It doesn't reduce their action count, but it will increase their action count by 3 to all enemies. And basically, for those that don't know, action count is basically something that decreases every time you play a card. So if you can continuously increase this means that the enemies aren't going to be hitting you as often. Now there's one caveat to this, which is basically when they have an infinity symbol on their action bar where normally it's a number, that means that this card is null and void, but any other circumstance, this card always works, right? And so it's really OP because outside of me getting more time or more AP to be able to use more cards, is basically giving me more card chances or chances to use a card against the enemy, even if I have to go or rotate into another turn, right? And then even, like, let's take for example my Ren build that I'm currently using, right? I have a card called Relentless Endurance, and this card may not seem like much, but it's a shielder card. But the reason why this card is so good is because it has a ability called Retain. So this card is not discarded at the end of the turn. What does that mean? That means that I don't have to rush and use it. I can use it when I actually see incoming damage. And the thing is that because it carries over to the next turn, because of the ability called Retain, it allows me to actually strategize the perfect window or opportunity to really use this card. And so with that also plays into other gimmicks where if I use other cards, it may reduce the AP cost of other cards still in my hand, right? So there's times where this card may cost me 0 or even 1 AP. So it is like absolutely insane what you can do. And this is the thing that I'm like really realizing, is that this can be done with literally every single character in the game. And the thing with this too, of course, is the pairing of equipment. Now, there are some events that you'll have to go through. There's some RNG and some chance, but I'm promising you guys, this game is definitely about it. What I would say typically is high risk, high reward. So the more that you really honestly just take a chance on something, you go to one of those random events, that's how you'll end up with gear like this, the Dream of the Devoured. So when a card is exhausted, next card uses 15% damage to stacks up to one time, right? The Palacia's Orb, right? When vulnerability is applied by a card, also weaken the target, right? And these are all important things because you want these debuffs, you want these modifiers working for you and also negatively against the enemy to allow you to deal more damage, to be able to survive longer, to be able to use more cards, etc., right? So this is why currently, if we look at my current layout, I'm able to, and I'll just show you guys where I'm currently at, right? Because I'm saying all this to really show you that at this point, if we go over to, let's go simulation right now, everything even down to the challenges, I was able to do the Wailing Prodigal at, I think, 4 difficulty. Right, and for difficulty, I mean, like, despite having the Ren, you do need to have some pretty solid like developed builds, and the City of Mist is able to provide that. But yeah, I autoed that, right? And that's the thing, is I know there's some people that are like struggling. You can literally auto this if you just understand fundamentally how to make a better build that kind of covers some of those gaps that you may have when you're trying to do things like using the auto feature of the game. Now, of course, with that, the other thing that's really important to note too, and this is something that you'll be able to better over time, and I really would recommend not leveling right away, but really just taking advantage of the set effects. Let's actually go back to the combatants. We haven't even gotten to partners yet. Is actually the memory fragments. Okay, so the memory fragments are really important because, as you can see, it's just the 4 set here is giving me 20% more crit, right, on cards that cost 2 or more. We got that 2 set for the defense. You can see here we're doing something similar, just really for stats here at this point. For the Ren, I don't even have any set effects active. I just don't have any to activate it right now. And then of course with Mika, we got that HP defense right now, nothing crazy, but these extra bonus effects really do help with kind of rounding out your overall build. And I know somebody's gonna ask, Zox, you got any extra pull or extra dupes into these characters? No. I have none. So that's the thing. All of the content I've been able to do so far has been a combination, just really developing the data, and then of course like the really honestly understanding fundamentally what cards go to who and how you can kind of expand a little bit outside of their build. Now, of course, the other thing that I really like is that, like, for example, there were opportunities or windows where I could have made characters like Mika more of a DPS if I really wanted to, which I do have a card currently in her her save data that allows her, which is Whirlpool here. Let's actually close that, to do AoE damage to all of the enemies on the field, and then you gain that wave effect, right? Now, the thing about this is that, of course, there were other options that gave more of a damage increase, and that's something that you have to kind of consider too. What are you trying to get the character to do, right? And who are they also going to be playing with? And there was no need for me to really do that, obviously, because I'm using both Ren and Hugo in the same team. So I didn't really need to do that. And so, of course, with that, the last thing that I want to leave with you guys, of course, is the partners. And this is going to be gatewaying into the next video because we'll probably summon during that video. But either way, I'll leave you with this little tidbit. With the partners, I think it is going to be really important if you really want to get the most out of your builds, not just focusing, just trying to get a whole bunch of characters, but really also trying to get some partners if you can. I think some of the lower ones, like the 4-star ones, are really solid. But I ultimately feel like when you're really starting to push in the end game, the defining factors or what's going to really start to shift some of the performances of some builds are going to be the partner passives that you're able to take advantage of. So I was able to get my hands on Noelle, which again, this is RNG, so I know not everybody's going to be able to get it, but this does give me the ability to be able to have not only the heal, but I can activate the retain effect of all cards held by the assigned combatant, which means that if I have a really good set of cards in my hand and I can't actually use them in that turn, I can actually carry them over, because, and that also could happen because of lack of AP. I can actually carry them over into the next turn, and voila, I get to do whatever I want. Now, this doesn't require me to have a 5-star, healer. This is on Mika, which everybody has. So I will say that I think that everybody definitely is going to be obviously hyper fixated on trying to roll the right characters. But in my opinion, I think that not only are the builds or the decks that you build really important to each character, and that really can make up for the lack of like maybe a certain gimmick that you may want to play into, but really having the partners are going to be really important, because they'll allow you extra gimmicks outside of like what the characters are innately able to do. So yeah, guys, that's basically that so far. I feel like it is really expansive in terms of like the information this game has, but I'm not going to overload you with too much, right? But either way, let me know what you guys are doing in this game. How fun is it? What combination are you doing? I personally am not going to recommend you guys to play anything really, because like I said, your builds can kind of be made to do anything. So have fun, just learn the mechanics, research, and I would even say experiment a little bit with some of these characters. And like I said, more than anything, just read, okay? But that's gonna be that with this one, guys. Everyone stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.